Namaskar, good morning. First of all, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. I know that there are people from all over the country here. I welcome you to Delhi. A lot of new research is emerging on the current situation of India. And by India, I mean, of course, I'm an economist, so my lens is that of an economist. But the society, हमारा जो समाज है, that is undergoing जो आपने शायद Honorable Prime Minister को भी सुना होगा using a phrase called silent revolution. और जो silent revolution हमारे समाज में हो रहा है, हमारी इकोनॉमी में भी हो रहा है, that is on the back of women of India. I will give you some evidence to that effect. आज का टॉपिक है अनलॉकिंग विमेन हाउ. बट बाय एंड लार्ज पिछले कुछ सालों से, पर्टिकुलरली पोस्ट कोविड, हमारा जो रिसर्च का फोकस है हम सभी का, लार्जली विद इन द गवर्नमेंट, वो है विजन 2047, विकसित भारत 2047. वी आर नाउ बियॉन्ड द स्टेज ऑफ विजन. We are now thinking of what are the ways in which we can attain this. Women are a very large part of this Viksit Bharat initiative. You know, in the last 25 years, and particularly in the last 12 years, there has been an upsurge in terms of the status of women in society. इसको कैसे मेजर करते हैं? अगर हम देखें विमेन लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन, तो आप में से कई लोग पढ़े भी होंगे. पिछले 10-15 सालों में बहुत ऐसे रिसर्च पेपर आए जिन्होंने ये मेजर किया, ये दिखाया कि भाई इंडिया में जैसे जैसे इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ होता गया, विमेन का लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन घटा. लेकिन इतना डायनामिक इकोनॉमी होने का एक मोटिव ये है कि आपको अब रियल टाइम डेटा देखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आपका जो समाज है, इट इज चेंजिंग एवरी डे. और पिछले 8 सालों में अगर आप पीरियोडिक लेबर फोर्स सर्वे देखते हैं, वो सालाना एवरी ईयर इट कम्स, आप देखेंगे कि इंडिया के रूरल एरिया में देयर हैज बीन अ 69% इंक्रीज in women's labor force participation. This is biggest increase we have seen in modern independence. इसमें एक सटल बात ये भी है कि this is largely a rural phenomenon. अर्बन इंडिया में women's labor force participation उस रूप से नहीं बढ़ा. Women's labor force participation is still only 1/4 of men. So you heard the Honorable Chief Minister say that without participation of women, it is going to be very difficult for us to attain this vision and the overall objective. अब ऐसा क्यों है कि अर्बन एरिया में women's labor force participation is not rising as fast as it is rising in rural areas? देखिए, हमारा जो समाज है, it is urbanizing very fast. आप सभी जो यहाँ हैं, in your recent past, maybe your past generation, maybe your current generation, we have moved from villages to cities. We are urbanizing very fast. We are also nuclearizing very fast. There will be very few, even within this audience, who have the luxury of a joint family living together today. And yet, we all recall, my grandmother used to live with me. I still recall a time when families did live together. इसका economic implication क्या है? जब पॉपुलेशन अर्बनाइज पास करता है और न्यूक्लियराइज फैमिली स्ट्रक्चर बहुत रैपिड ढंग से होता है, तो इसका एक डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट औरतों पर, क्योंकि द एंटायर कॉस्ट, द बर्डन, द जॉब of taking care not just of children but also the elderly. India is a young country, ये आपने बार बार सुना, but हमारे यहाँ 120 million people are above the age of 60, which means we are also aging fast. We are young, but we have a large segment which is aging. Given the nature of the population, the entire burden of care is on the shoulders of women. In urban area, because you don't have a joint family to support you in raising children or in taking care of the elderly, the opportunity cost becomes very high. It's not easy for young women to go out and work the way young men can do without that kind of support. Now, India is not unique. ऐसा नहीं है कि ये जो tensions हैं वो दूसरे emerging markets में नहीं हुए, ये हुए थे, ये जापान में हुआ, ये साउथ कोरिया में हुआ, ये चाइना में हुआ, लेकिन इन सभी देशों में एक obvious impact ये था कि fertility rate started to crash. हमारे यहाँ भी जब आप नेशनल लेवल डेटा देखते हैं, विच इज अनफॉर्चुनेट क्योंकि इंडिया इज वेरी लार्ज, तो नेशनल लेवल डेटा जो है वो बहुत कुछ नुआंस हाइड करता है. अर्बन इंडिया में population or fertility has been below replacement. In fact, it has been below 2 for the last 25 years. This is a wake-up call. Why are young women in our cities not wanting to have babies? This is not just a generational concern, but for a country which aspires to be a developed nation by 2047, a declining fertility at this stage of our growth means soon we will have a much larger dependent population and a falling working population. This problem is acute in urban areas, not in rural areas. What am I trying to tell you? That our family structure is under strain. Family is a very important unit of society, but it is also a very important unit for an economy. Why am I saying this? क्योंकि कोविड टाइम में ये पहली बार देखा गया ग्लोबली, इतने सारे elderly people died alone without a family member around them. This is largely a developed market phenomenon. हमारे यहाँ फिर भी लोग साथ. In developed nations of the world, COVID was a wake-up call that a breakdown of family structure is a huge shock to mankind in general. Imagine such large number of elderly people dying alone without family around is a deep crisis. Families are under strain. अलग-अलग देशों में इसका solution अलग-अलग रूप से ढूंढा. But no country in the world has managed to throw money at this problem and reverse declining fertility. We are seeing evidence from China. We are seeing from all other East Asian. So now what should we do? And this goes back to what Rekha ji said. How do we give equal opportunity to our women? Now the reality is also that today we have more women in colleges and higher education institutions in India than men. Are you seeing what is happening? The women are getting more education than ever before. Of course they are working hard. Lekin when it comes to working labor force participation, which is a very narrowly defined concept. We only value women's work when it is outside of the home, which means an activity for which money is transacted. Then it is part of the GDP. But when all this work is being done inside the household, it is shadow economy. It is not part of the GDP. So one of the papers we did, this was with the previous Women Child Development Minister, Shamika Ravi. We did a paper which measured what is the GDP share or what is the value of women's work inside the household. It is anywhere between 16 and 18% of GDP. Why am I saying this and how do you measure this? Women, even working women of a certain age group, spend 4 to 6 hours in the household taking care of someone or doing household chores. In developed market ये transact होते हैं, कोई आता है, काम करके जाता है, बच्चों के या elderly के, and you pay them money. Then it is part of the GDP. But when we are doing inside the household, it is not part. एक तो statistical fix हो गया, which people like us, it is easy for us to do. By 18% of GDP is the value. But what am I saying? What does it even mean? It is that statistics. The larger concern is, if we don't value it, you are going to actively discount it, not just in the GDP. You tend to discount it even within society. We look down on women who choose to stay at home and take care of either children or the elderly or take care of a family. This mindset has to change. Of course, we want women to go out and do everything that they want to achieve in their life. But it should be okay for them to want to raise a good family as well. It's a great contribution to the nation if you take care and you have healthy, educated and new generation with values. So GDP is a very small metric. We have to expand the way we measure what we value. And if we don't measure what we value, soon we will stop valuing. So that's a very important concern. Now declining fertility में huge variations तो हैं ही regional, but the bigger concern is the urban-rural. What is also noticed in terms of education, the women are getting more educated than men. In fact, India has the largest share of women in STEM education. हमारे यहाँ 45% of STEM graduates are women. It's highest in the world. Which is why we have to develop and promote the concept of women-led development. We do have women with the necessary skill set, but we have to build the infrastructure. We have to build the supporting institutions. And when the family is no longer joined, we will also have to build what is called care economy. Yes, we want to promote families to stay together and not find it costly. But uske liye we will have to bring in policy initiatives. We will have to support them. Whether it is in housing norms, whether it is in terms of thinking of tax structure, whether it is in terms of healthcare, and you have seen Ayushman Bharat extended beyond 70 years. And it is not for the poor alone, it is for everybody. Because we do realize that while we are young, there is an aging segment whose cost of healthcare is rising. So please recognize that we have a vision, we have a very well-defined agenda of 2045. Women are at the heart of it. Women are a large part. And the origin of a lot of this, what we call silent revolution, has been very, very obvious in the election. After all, it is a democracy. Many of our changes are happening through the democratic system. Your women are voting more than ever. In fact, they are outnumbering the men. इसके लिए कोई पॉलिसी नहीं लाया गया था. That is why you have to recognize the power of women in society. They are going out and voting for every election, everywhere in the country. It is not a South India, North India, urban, rural. Women are going out and voting in very large numbers. That surge which has happened is nothing less than a tsunami, which is why a women's reservation bill, जो कि 10 साल पहले था, many parties disagreed to it openly. When it was tabled, no one said anything. It was universally accepted. Why? Because the time is there. The women have already seen the center stage as far as policy and democratic institutions. Your pragmatic leaders have their ears on the ground. They know this. Which is why in the last 12 years, most of our major schemes have focused on this. Because changing women's role, targeting women in the society means targeting the family. Children are immediately impacted. Our latest numbers are telling us that overall poverty rate, the Rangarajan poverty rate hota hai, which is higher than the World Bank, mind you. It is more than the $2.15 that they estimate. Rangarajan poverty rate mein health, education, other than food, you are looking at rental, conveyance. So bada conservative metric hota hai. Even by that metric, 12 years back, India had 29.5% poverty rate. Today that number is less, it's around 3.6. It's a huge improvement. We should be talking much more about it. ये कहाँ से poverty reduce हो गई? It's because of a major surge that is. Economic growth fuels it. But economic growth by itself doesn't lead to reduction in poverty. It is the fundamental fuel, but it is done through active, inclusive policy. But you know, women's poverty, which used to be much higher, women's poverty is also estimated. It used to be around 35%. Today it is less than 3%. So women have done phenomenally well. And through the women, the families are getting better. Then we talk of health. Within health, policies have been brought in, but there is a role for society. When you look at the data of All India Institute of Medical Science, which is our largest tertiary care hospital, in fact, it's the largest in Asia, 5 million OPD patients per year. That is the number of patients that they do. जब आप एस्टिमेट करेंगे कि भाई पेशेंट्स कौन कौन से बीमारी के लिए आ रहे हैं, आप नोटिस करेंगे कि outside of gynecology and obstetrics, 50% of women patients are missing. Now, AIMS is not particularly more expensive for women, no? So why is it that women are not coming for care, even in places like AIMS, which is practically free, highly subsidized? And it is not true that women only have reproductive health ailments. Women also have other kind of ailments. So समाज से हमें ये पूछना पड़ेगा, why are we not bringing our sick women into this? We have taken care of maternal health because we've had a major initiative targeting maternal mortality rate. India's maternal mortality rate has crashed in the last 12 years. In fact, nearly 3 times faster than the world reduction. Because the policies have been effective. Lekin the government can't do everything. The government, you shouldn't even expect them to do it. There is a role for, and many of the things that Rekha ji mentioned, it is transformation that the family structure will also have to adapt. Sick women, whether they are young girls or older women, who typically get neglected when there is a sick illness. If you look at donors, organ donors, 80% of organ donors are women. 80% of recipients are men. This is not government job. So you see, the conversation that we must have in a conference like this has to also question that if we are to become a developed nation by 2050, and develop not like the past OECD countries, that would be very, very irresponsible if we started growing the same way that these rich nations did. Because you will pollute a lot, you are going to see breakdown of families, you are going to see big, enormous long-term problems. So we are saying we will be growing while maintaining our values. So this is growth with Indian characteristics. We want to maintain families, we want to support women, but we also want to support the value systems that are uniquely green transition. We are the only country at this phase of growth. We are responsible. We are saying if we pollute like these guys who did in the past, it is very, very irresponsible towards the future generation. So we are going to look for green transition. We will grow, but in a sustainable way. Please realize that these big objectives, that this vision that we have has a direct bearing on society, family, women and children. It's very important for us to also do more research, that a country which is the fastest growing major country in the world, a society that is transforming so rapidly, needs real-time knowledge, needs real-time research input. So to all the scholars in the room, I'm here also to basically encourage you and motivate you that काम करिए, give us good research, join the larger momentum, write, document. Nobody will tell your story. If somebody else tells your story, it will be from their perspective. We have to tell our own story of growth. So to the researchers and scholars in the room, this is your time. Please contribute. Please research. Even well-written case studies are very useful for the government. Document the changes in society. Of course, this is also a cultural sort of a renaissance we are trying to bring about. When we say Ayurveda, we want to promote, we are saying scientific temperament has to be promoted. We have to test, we have to try, we have to document. That is how the modern system is. Okay? So I'm here basically to say to the women in the room, I will be biased. After all, we have luckily got more women on the panel, unlike most panels which tend to be heavily biased in favor of men. To the women in the room, this is a window of opportunity for you. Step up. Make your contribution felt. There are many of us, even within the government, who are here to go shoulder with shoulder with you. We are here to support your endeavor. And in turn, please help us make the right policies so that we don't distort what is fundamentally a value system in the path to attaining Viksit Bharat 2040. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the very best for the rest of this.